Hey up and welcome back to my bomb site of a garage. You know, I'm incredibly envious of all these clinical, squeaky clean garages you see on some channels. I was watching Tiger Ness the other day, who has, up in Scotland there, has 3 bikes, one of which is a classic 350, and does some great work on them as well, very, very informative. But his garage is absolutely immaculate. And TMS garage, immaculate. Lamb Chops garage, immaculate. And they all seem to be that way. Not mine. It's an absolute tip, and probably is the product of, well, A, laziness and neglect on my part, and B, I suppose, the number of bikes that I've accessorised through this garage over the years. So I've got so many OEM parts that have come off of likes of the Royal Enfield Scram 411, the Classic 350, the Interceptor, the Super Meteor, to a lesser extent the Moto Guzzi V7 here. But other bikes I've had previously, and I've got bits here from the Honda Cross Tourer, the Honda Goldwing GL 1800, from old BMWs. Crikey, must go back oh, how far? A good 10 years, I would suggest. Yeah, a good 10 years probably. And it's a tip. And the only thing preventing it from being an immaculate garage like some of those you see is my laziness. But you see, there's always something better to be doing. There's always something to be doing with one of the bikes, or there's always a bike to be ridden. But at the moment, it's absolutely chucking it down outside yet again. I've never known such a sustained period of consecutive wet days ever. We had a wet summer back in 2023, and we've had the wettest February on record, but the last few months in general have just been completely characterised by endless consecutive days of rain, and it's a bit depressing. So I'm in the process of renewing my passport because I want to be one of those guys that when it gets too much can vanish off to the either to the Picos in Spain or to Tenerife or wherever if it gets too much for me. We'll see how that pans out. So yeah, again, a bit of a Bingley bonus video this, but I did want to tell you about some of the things that are coming up, including all being well, Thursday morning's video should be the long-awaited review of the Suzuki GSX S1000GX. My God, I got it right. The Suzuki GSX S1000GX. So that will be going out with me, hopefully in the rain again, of course, on Wednesday. I'm recording this on a Tuesday. And that video should be up Thursday morning, so I hope that's of some interest to you. And that, of course, will be out of Appleyards as usual. Now, speaking of Appleyards, if you're able to get yourself up to Appleyards this Friday or Saturday, that's the 15th and the 16th, because they're having a demo day or an open day, ride out day, whatever you want to call it. And there'll be stacks of demonstrators of 2024 bikes there for you to have a demo ride on if you're interested. So there should be the likes of the CF Moto 800 MT. I'm very interested in that bike. There will of course be the Suzuki I've just mentioned. I think there'll be the Suzuki GSX 800R, if that's right, the sporty version of the one that I took out last summer. And of course there's the Royal Enfields, the Vosges, the Benellis, Motor Marinis, I think, and what have you. Anyway, it's not an exhaustive list, and I might have got 1 or 2 of those wrong, but it'll be a cracking day. Get yourself up to Appleyards in Keighley. I'll be there on Saturday. I'll be dropping in at some point on Saturday, so if you're there, say hello. Have a chat. I look forward to that. So yeah, Friday and Saturday this week, Appleyard Motorcycles in Keighley, ride out open day. Come up and see us. Aye, so what else? Right, so you'll have seen recently that I've done quite a bit with my beautiful brand new Royal Enfield Classic 350 here. And I suppose where I go now with this bike will be just one or two of the peripheral items before we get into the performance enhancing upgrades to this bike, which will certainly feature once the bike's running. Now then, but I will be getting very shortly the CNC black adjustable alloy brake and clutch levers from Hitchcock's. I'll be getting the black bash plate from Hitchcock's, because quite a few of you have recommended that on the channel, thanks very much, and pointed out indeed that these here 50/50 tyres have a habit of chucking up quite a bit of muck and gravel and other bits of sharp nadgery stuff that can damage the coating on the engine. So I'll be putting the black sump guard on, or bash plate, whatever you want to call it, any road up. I'll be fitting that, and it'll be black so it blends in with like the seats, the panniers, the crash bars and what have you. So I'll be fitting that and the levers and some form of heating. Whether I'm going to go down the road of a Gerbing heated gloves attachment or Oxford heated grips, I'm not entirely sure yet, but that will be to come on the channel, so keep your eye out for that, stick around, stay tuned. The only thing I've done without showing you, because I don't want to patronise you, is I've fitted the Optimate 4 lead here, and she's hooked up now and keeping nice and charged up with the Optimate 4, so a bit of a fiddle. In fact, to be able to get the lead accessible without leaving this panel open here, this side panel, you need to do a bit of jiggery pokery. So you've got to take off this ear panel and then the panel underneath, but it's fairly straightforward, but it's about an hour's work. Anyway, that's sorted, that's settled. I'm loving this bike. I haven't flaming well ridden it other than the ride back from Appleyard yet because of the weather, but the more I look at this bike, the more its beauty speaks to me. Fantastic little thing. Right, so yes, so don't miss that. That'll be coming up on the channel. And the performance upgrades that I mentioned, I've had a chat with, or rather an email exchange with Dan at Hitchcock's, and when it comes to fitting the Kent performance cam, I'll obviously be covering that on the channel, and he's promised me a couple of very helpful tips to make the job a lot easier for you and for me, of course, coming up, so don't miss that. That will probably take place. I have it in mind, and please feel free to comment below if you disagree or agree. I have it in mind actually to do the first service on this bike myself, because I know it's pretty straightforward. So I have in mind doing that, and including obviously the valve adjustments and whatever. It's a tank off job, but I've done that before on the previous Classic 350, as you might have seen in that video where I fixed a part that had broken underneath the tank. But any road up. So I'm minded to do the first service myself, and at the same time, because the tank and the rocker box cover will be off, to look at doing the rest. Now, the only downside of that, as Dan rightly pointed out, is there is a second running in period with Classic 350s, and that second running in period is between the first service at 300 miles and the 2,000 kilometre mark, which is 1,200 miles. And the extent to which you can take the bike to the upper threshold of its revs is still limited in that interim period. And so there's an argument that goes, and I absolutely understand it, that if you're going to fit a performance part like the Kent Performance Cam, then in order to fully appreciate the difference that part will make to the bike, then you need to have had the bike fully running and to be able to operate at full capacity. Otherwise, you're not really comparing like with like. So I'll give that some thought. But like I say, I've had a word with Dan, and he said, you know, from a purely mechanical point of view, there's no reason why the performance cam can't be fitted once the first service is done. So have a think about that, but tell me what you think in the comments below. How would you go about it if you were fitting something like the performance cam on this bike, or indeed if you have fitted the performance cam to this bike? Would you be happy to do it at the first service while everything's already in bits, or would you be waiting until that 2,000 kilometre, 1,200 mile mark when the bike is quote unquote fully running? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd be really interested to hear your feedback. So that's the Classic 350. The Super Meteor 650 here has been accessorised to death with luggage and the tech bike parts, Canon exhaust system, complete exhaust system, handguards and jibby crash bars and all the rest of it. I'm not sure what else could go on this bike, except of course perhaps the bash plate as well on this bike. So I'll have a long hard think about that. It's not ordinarily the kind of bike you think about taking off-road, is it? A cruiser like this. So yeah, that might take some further deliberation on my part as to whether to go down that route, but I might do. As for the Moto Guzzi V7 Stone Special here, still not had its first service, and a huge debate out there about whether the first service on this bike is at 600 miles or 900 miles, and it's split 50-50 out there. Again, tell me what you think. The supplying dealer of this bike told me 600 miles, but a lot of people out there say they've got a Moto Guzzi V7 from a UK dealership, and that dealership have told them 900 miles. So again, a bit of a quandary. Let me know what you think if you've got any meaningful responses to that. I'd appreciate it. What's going to happen with this bike is I am going to fit that luggage. Now I know I mentioned that these here somewhere in this pile of stuff here. There's the Givy pannier frames for the Moto Guzzi V7, but of course they don't fit this particular model, the V7 Stone Special, because of the way those upgraded Arrow exhausts hang on the bike. But I've got a workaround for it, and I'll show you what I intend to do in my little workshop next door, which you'll have not seen before, because that is somewhere I used to pursue another little interest of mine. I'll show you that very, very shortly. But what I intend to do is to adapt those Givy pannier carriers to fit, and that'll involve basically angle grinding off the third mounting point and lowering the exhaust. So what I'll actually need to do is cut off the third mounting point on the here, I'll show you. Right, that were a battle. Right here, so here they are. So any road up. So this mounting point here, no problem whatsoever. 2 bolts there under the seat. Attach that, no problem. Third mounting point here is by way of it. The second mounting point rather here is by way of a tie bar that connects this side to t'other side. Mounting point number 2. Your problem starts with this here, mounting point number 3, because it does not mate up with the exhaust hanger bolt. So what I need to do is remove this, and then I need to make a bracket that's going to enable me to lower that exhaust, because with the slightly upswept Moto Guzzi Arrow exhausts, what it means is when you try and put the panniers onto these frames, the Givy panniers, you can't get them to push far enough down to lock into these lugs without fouling the exhaust. And in any case, even if you could, you'd be right on top of that exhaust. You'd probably melt your panniers, which would not be right good state of affairs. So what I'm going to have to do is lower that exhaust. I'm going to have to make a bracket that allows me to drop that exhaust by 2 or 3 inches. which it will do once you undo the hanger on these exhausts. They will drop down 2-3 inches very easily indeed without any issues. So that's the plan. And you might say, well, is that going to be enough? You know, tie bar there to the other frame and then these 2 bolts here. But I think it's SW Motec, or it might be Hepco and Becker, but their luggage mounting kit, I forget the name of it now, C-bar, something like that. But that only attaches to these 2 mounting points under the seat there, onto the frame. That's its only mounting point. And from what I can gather, that's designed to carry the same sort of size or weight of luggage. So I think that'll be more than enough. Not that I'm going to carry any great weight anyway, but I think that should be okay. So stick around, stay tuned for that. That'll be coming. And possibly some bar risers for this bike as well. Likely be in the offing before too long. So, yes. Right. I think that's about it, except I'll take thee into my workshop. Right, here we go. This is my, well, it's one of the little things that I do that might surprise you, because it's got diddly squat to do with motorcycling. Some time ago I had quite a, I'm saying some time ago, it'll be 10 years or more ago now, I had quite a successful little business making early musical instruments, flutes, like ethnic flutes, Renaissance musical instruments. And this is the workshop where I do all of that work. So I have a lathe and a drill press and a bandsaw and a static belt sander and a table saw and 1 or 2 other bits and bats. And yeah, it's basically a 12 by 10 foot triple insulated shed. So I had a 12 by 10 foot standard shed built, and then I set about lining it with tongue and groove, as you can probably see, and 2 lots of insulation behind that tongue and groove, 2 different kinds of insulation, and 3 layers of cladding. Yeah. But also it will come in very useful, obviously, for bits and bats that I need to do on the bike, particularly them brackets I need to make for that there Moto Guzzi. So this is where I'll be fabricating them. So yeah, I just thought that might interest you. Right, anyway, enough of that old bollocks, let's crack on. Right, that's it for today. Sorry if this here light's blinding you. Yeah, we'll just a catch up to let you know what's happening in the future with these 3 bikes. To remind you about the Appleyards event on Friday and Saturday. Look forward to seeing you there on the Saturday. And yeah, I'll see you, all being well, on Thursday morning's video with a review of the Suzuki GSX-S 1000 GX, all in one take. Okay, please feel free to like, share and to subscribe to the channel. It makes all the difference to me, and I really, really do appreciate it. So in the meantime, ride safe, be kind, and I'll see you there.